Hi, welcome to HowtoDandD. My name is Fred Wheeler and today I want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. And we're not just going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, we're going to talk about the Dungeons and Dragons starter set and the Lost Mine of Phandelver. So this is a Dungeon Master guide for those of you who are wanting assistance and a little bit of help as you work your way through that adventure. And certainly, if you've run the adventure before, you're welcome to hang about. If you are playing in the Lost Mine of Phandelver, this is not a good video to watch, particularly if you're still playing it. If you've already played through, then fine, hang about. But if you haven't, you're going to wind up with a whole bunch of spoilers. So I suggest you come back some of the time when you've played the adventure and then you can watch the video if you want to. We're going to talk about Hamun Kost, who is a Red Wizard of Thay. It doesn't necessarily spell out that he's a Red Wizard of Thay in a lot of detail. It just says he's a Red Wizard. He is a mage of necromancy and historical lore, as it happens. Kind of helpful for any kind of wizard to be knowledgeable in history and historical lore. And he's got a real sort of bent for this particular area, which is why he is where he is right now. Now, how does he appear? I've looked for lots and lots of images on Hamun Kost, and Hamun Kost, I'm going to have a lot of trouble with this. Hamun. Basically, he is stout, he has sallow skin, sort of palish, sort of hollowed out cheekbones, he's got a shaved head, he's got black tattoos on him, and one of those black tattoos is on his forehead, and he wears a red robe. These are the traditional garb of a Red Wizard of Thay. Now the tattoo on his forehead and the tattoos that he wears, they are representative of necromantic symbols of magic. Now where is Thay? Thay is to the east of the Sword Coast. Thay is a nation of wizards who rule with a rather evil iron fist of tyranny. Literally, their whole economy revolves around magic items, the production of magic items and magic, and slavery. And there's an awful lot of undead things that they have created and risen that sort of do a lot of their menial tasks. Not so much fight their wars, although they can. They certainly do lots of other things. And they are... I guess you will find them talked about more in terms of an adventure in Rise of Tiamat. You'll find that they are sort of discussed in that particular adventure, and you get an opportunity to have an interaction with the Red Wizards of Thay if you decide to play that adventure. Hamun is not a particularly violent individual. He's not aggressive or even impulsive. He is very, very clever at what he does. And he will talk to the characters if the group are not aggressive and seek to parley or talk with him. If they don't, then there's going to be a battle. But the adventure talks about how the zombies come out and sort of form like a line between the player's characters and the Red Wizard. They will probably go straight for the attack, but if the players decide to try to engage and talk, then he will call off his zombies, which is kind of nice. You can strike a deal with this particular wizard. You don't need to necessarily go at loggerheads. So striking a deal can be achieved if the players offer something that Hamun Kost wants, and he can provide information to the players. Or should I say their characters. Here's the problem. When you look in the section on the Lost Mine of Phandelver on page 29, you will notice that it doesn't detail anything about what Hamun Kost knows. In fact, it doesn't say anything. It's really left to the Dungeon Master to determine what it is that he will relay to the player's characters. So, how do we deal with this? Well, I'm going to come back to that question because I've left it for the end. Simply because I know it's one of the things that a lot of people really want to know about, and if I get you to watch the entire whole video, then it works for me. I don't know, that sounds terrible, but hey, sometimes I do that sort of thing. So he is camped out at Old Owl Well. He's very tight-lipped about the reason for being at Old Owl Well, but you can get information out of him. He's camped at the Old Owl Well with a small force of zombies, as I just talked about. And they sort of, there's about 12 of them. They basically act as a sentries or guardians, and he commands about 12 of those. So if the players decide to get angsty, he's got plenty of firepower to slow them down. I know we want to talk about tactics with Hamun Kost, and we will, but right now let's move through that part and talk about some of the other aspects which I think are more interesting. And first off, where is Old Owl Well? You will find on the map in the adventure that it is sort of situated off to the right, down on the screen as you see it right now. It's at the bottom. Okay, so it's quite a distance from every other location. You have to travel a fair distance to actually get to that location to engage with Hamun Kost. But you can pick up the adventure hook and feed into that by going to phandelver, and it will be provided by I think it's Darren Elmer. I think it's Darren Elmer. Yeah, I think that's the character you want to engage them with. So the ruined watchtower has a colourful tent pitched in the courtyard, and this is the mage's temporary home while he excavates the location. What is he excavating though? And we're going to come back to that as well. Hamun Kost wants a few things from the player's characters first, and there's only two things that stand out that the player's characters can do that will divulge Hamun Kost's interest in giving them information. And one of those is to get rid of those pesky orcs. There's Wyvern Tor has a whole bunch of orcs there. Now they can kill the orcs, remove the orcs in some way, drive them off. Hamun Kost doesn't care. What he's concerned about is that orcs have a tendency to raid, and if they hang about long enough, no doubt they will try to scout his camp, and then there's going to be trouble. And he doesn't want trouble. He's trying to keep a low profile. You can't keep a low profile if you have people scouting out your location and attacking you. So it doesn't really work that way. So he wants the orcs gone. The second thing they can do, should they be interested in helping him, that is to go and talk or ask Agatha the Banshee a question. He knows about Agatha, but he doesn't want to approach the Banshee himself simply because he fears her. And that's all you need to do, is if you can get the player's characters to go and ask Agatha the Banshee a question. They will approach Agatha as part of one of the other adventure hooks at some point, but there's a couple of different ways that Agatha can work. With regard to Agatha, you can literally build it into multiple different aspects of the adventure. And then once, of course, they've gone and talked to Agatha, there's only one question they can ask, unfortunately. So this is the question that Hamun Kost wants them to ask Agatha the Banshee. What is the name of the wizard who built the watchtower at Old Owl Well? Now, why is he asking that question? I know what you're thinking. There must be something up, and there is. Hamun Kost, I suspect that Hamun Kost actually knows who built that tower, but he wants it confirmed, which is why he's here in the first place. And it was built, and Agatha knows the answer to this. It was built by Arthendol. Arthendol is basically a very powerful wizard, and I'm going to go into Arthendol in a little bit more detail. So you can see there's a lot of stuff that's sort of been left out, and there's lots of elements to the character as you're going through. So Hamun Kost is searching for arcane lore. Lots and lots of arcane lore, and there's a specific type of arcane lore he's seeking out. One of it is that literally it's going to be the focus for this character later on, provided he lives long enough. I'm really looking forward to discussing that element. The mage is evil, so Red Wizards of Thay are evil, but he's not openly destructive. He doesn't go just blasting things and killing people. In fact, Hamun Kost does not act according to his normal personality while he's visiting Old Owl Well in the Sword Coast, because knowing fully well that other people would respond to that in a negative way and find it offensive and maybe cause a whole lot of hassle for him, he is not acting according to his normal open personality, which normally a Red Wizard of Thay are quite arrogant, self-centered. They would put other people down, they look down on them. Remember, they consider everybody else cattle, because if you're not a wizard, you're cattle. But he doesn't portray that. So if you're wanting sort of personality traits and so forth that you could use for Hamun Kost, play him as a wizard who is not very nice, exactly how I just described, but he doesn't do any of those sorts of things. So that doesn't make an awful lot of sense, I do realise, but that's what I would suggest you do when you're playing the character. He has to keep a low profile on what he's doing in terms of the excavation, because he doesn't want anybody interfering with it. There are a few things that he values, like most Red Wizards, that is power, magic items, and slaves. Anything that he can turn into a slave is useful to him. He is completely loyal to the Red Wizards of Thay for now. Maybe not later on, but certainly for now he is loyal to them. He's very smart, he's a very careful wizard, and essentially what I would say with regard to this particular wizard is make sure you play him smart. Don't play him dumb. Don't look at the stat block and think, well, okay, he should be played this particular way. No, play the wizard as smart and as clever as you possibly can. Otherwise, he's not really going to be a major feature of the adventure and just wind up being another piece of cannon fodder. And if they do get into a battle, it's likely to be like a very long, drawn-out battle, because zombies take forever to kill, certainly at the level that you're playing at. Okay, now what does Agatha know specifically? Well, Agatha, as I said, knows that the tower or watchtower was built by Arthandol. Now, Arthandol is a terracer who originally was a powerful ancient Sarak lord who became a lich later on. Now, the location of this particular individual is not really known at this point, but he has become so powerful and so knowledgeable, he accrued the information and the tools necessary to become a lich. Often this is what drives a lot of Red Wizards to become a lich. So that gives you a little hint as to what the heck is going on with regard to that character. Hamun Kost. What is Hamun Kost likely to have any connection to with regard to the adventure? There's a whole lot of little loose bits and pieces within the adventure that you think Hamun Kost might be related to, and it certainly is Hamun Kost's presence related to the cult of the dragon being at the ruins of Thunder Tree. I actually think it's unlikely. What I think is going on here is that is like a foreshadowing technique. What I think has happened is the design team has decided to use this to foreshadow their upcoming Horde of the Dragon Queen adventure at the time that Lost Mine of Phandelver was going to be released. They were foreshadowing it so that was tie-in if you wanted to use the Lost Mine of Phandelver and then play Horde of the Dragon Queen after, and it would have some sort of bearing on it so you could see what was going on. Things don't sort of sit stagnant, you know. While the players are doing something with their characters, other things are taking place in the background. And so this was to foreshadow other than anything else. That does not mean that you can't have some sort of tie or connection between Hamun Kost and the Cult of the Dragon. But I think it's just the design team foreshadowing myself. When it comes to something like Venom Fang, what sort of interaction would Hamun Kost have with Venom Fang? Honestly, I don't think that Hamun Kost is even remotely interested in dealing with a dragon. I think he would avoid the dragon Venom Fang at all costs. I don't believe that he knows that the dragon's name is Venom Fang, but I'm pretty sure he would be aware that there's a dragon in that region of the Sword Coast. simply because at some point the dragon's got to fly around and find food. And that's what dragons tend to do. They're either sleeping or they're flying, right? It tends all feeding. I'm sure they might be doing other things, but the dragon Venom Fang is quite young, so I don't think it'll be doing much more than that. What about Nesna, the black spider? What sort of interaction does Hamun Kost have with Nesna? Well, I think that Hamun Kost would have nothing to do with Nesna, the black spider, unless Hamun has no other choice. So he can continue excavating Old Owl Well and the tower location. So unless he has no other choice, he's probably going to stay out of Nesna, the black spider's machinations. So you can tie them together if you wanted to. As I said, you can tie all of this. You can connect Venom Fang with Hamun Kost if you really wanted to. You can connect Hamun Kost with Nesna, the black spider. But I don't think that he's going to get involved in the black spider's activities, just because it's bound to cause trouble and it's bound to draw attention to that region of the world eventually. So he's trying to keep a low profile. I don't think he would do anything like that. Hamun Kost is potentially a future villain if the group don't wind up killing the Red Wizard and his zombies, which is what makes him so valuable as an NPC. So what does Hamun Kost know? Well, Hamun Kost knows the following, and these are all speculation on my part. I looked at the adventure and I thought, well, what are the things that you would probably know about this region if you were excavating the location and you had done a bit of preemptive sort of scouting and made sure that you knew what you were doing and you weren't going to get yourself into any trouble. I have no doubt that someone like Hamun Kost would use something like Arcane Eye and other various things, even maybe a familiar, to scout and locate dangers and problems that might accrue for him. This is what wizards do, you know, they scout, they research, they're constantly doing that sort of thing. I believe that Hamun Kost knows that a drow has probably tried to hire him, approached him, asking to remove or dispel some undead that are located in a region of that world. He won't know where. I don't believe that Hamun Kost would take the job even if the drow approached him, and it wouldn't be Nesna, the black spider. It would be a drow, probably one of the doppelgangers, disguised as a drow to sort of throw everything out completely. I wouldn't put someone like Nesna, the black spider, right up in the face of Hamun Kost. He doesn't need to do that. He has the doppelgangers. They can be his front face. They can appear as him, or they can appear as another drow, making the whole situation vastly more complicated and confusing for everybody else. So that's what I would tend to do and think that Hamun Kost knows. He would know that there are goblin tribes, or a goblin tribe plundering merchants around this region. And he would also probably know, because at some point it's likely to be common knowledge too, that Phandalin has been overrun by bandits. The red brands are pretty obvious. They're not hiding in the shadows. It's a shame because Phandalin has a lot of potential, but that's not really what Hamun Kost is all about. But these are things I think that Hamun Kost would know. I think he'd also know that the ruins of the Old Owl Well, or the Old Watchtower, are part of an ancient magical empire of Zenthral. Netheth. I hope I got it pronounced right. That's Netheril, the Empire of Netheth. It's an ancient empire, and certainly it would have been a drawing factor for Hamun Kost when he came here. He'd also know, obviously, about the Conberry Banshee Agatha, because he's going to be asking them a favour at some point. Maybe not that favour, it might be a different one, or maybe the orcs that you go with instead of dealing with the Banshee. But I would offer up both as potential tasks they could do, not just one. He would also know for sure, because I think it would be common knowledge to a certain degree at some point, certainly for a wizard who's scouted a location like this, that there is a dragon that has been seen flying around this location. I don't think that Hamun Kost would know that the name of the dragon is Venomfang, but I think Hamun Kost would know that there is a green dragon that has sort of taken up roost in this general location. He doesn't know where it is, and it would be up to the player's characters at some point to sort of figure that out. And of course, if they're using the pre-generated characters, one of their characters is likely to know the general location of where the dragon is, because it's one of the background sort of features for that character. I can't remember which one, but I certainly know there is one. Okay, let's get down to the nitty-gritty about why Hamun Kost is actually at this tower and why he's excavating this location. I think it's actually pretty obvious to me. When I was looking at the adventure, reading through the information other people had written and seeing what had taken place, I think there are 4 key things that are driving this wizard, and that is looking for spell books that might be buried at the tower, looking for the remains of powerful items left behind by the tower wizard, and as I said, the tower wizard is Arthindol. Arthindol? Yes, I think that's right. Arthindol. It's in the adventure anyway. Yes. And I believe that he's looking for knowledge and tools needed to become a lich. I think that's why Hamun Kost is actually at Old Owl Well. I don't think there's... that is the overall driving force, I think, with regard to this wizard and character. That is what he wants. And he knows that there might likely be leftover information that would help him towards that goal. I also think he's looking for the personal diary of Arthindol. Arthindol? Gosh, I always struggle with names. I think he's looking for that information. If he can get that information, all good, and things are going to go well. Okay, so there is sort of a rundown of all the different questions I thought you might ask with regard to Hamun Kost. What about battle tactics if it goes into a fight? Because often players just go straight for the jugular and don't worry about asking questions or doing anything else. Okay, it's common, right? It happens. Remember, the zombies are actually difficult to dispose of. Make sure they are a shield. I believe that Hamun Kost would not hang around waiting for the tide of battle to turn against him. If things aren't going really well for him and it's a one-sided battle, I think that he would leave the zombies to it and skedaddle out of there. So I would suggest using that as your battle tactic rather than trying to do anything fancy with him and try to... I mean, you can hurl spells for all you like, but once they get past the zombies, the wizard is really soft meat. So don't get caught up and try to get involved in any sort of complicated battle. Remember, use the zombies, use your spells at distance. If the battle is starting to turn, I mean, certainly if something like Fireball gets hurled out, there's no way that Hamun Kost is going to hang around. He'll know fully well that a Fireball can decimate his zombies and probably take him out as well. Make sure to position the zombies far enough forward that the wizard isn't going to be in the firing line, because things like magic missile can hit pretty much automatically, and things like fireball, all they're going to do is drop the fireball on the wizard, and of course a lot of them will think, okay, well the zombies will no longer be under the control of the Red Wizard. Well, that's not the case. You take out the wizard, the zombies follow their last command. Their last command has always been, and this would have been given before they even come across the campsite, that is, anybody comes near this location, attack them. That's all those zombies do. So that is my feedback for you with regard to Hamun Kost. Hopefully it's useful to you. I didn't want to pull up the stat block for the character because it's an evil wizard. They have spells. You look at what you have, you decide what you want to do. I don't think the benefit of this character is casting spells. I honestly think it's more about getting your players doing other things and developing a relationship and potentially, whether they know it or not, a future villain. Now, if you're dealing with experienced players, they will probably see right through this and go straight for the jugular no matter what. But the mage has access to Light, Mage Hand, Shocking Grasp. Shocking Grasp is really the only spell that's attacking attacking cantrip that's useful to you, you might want to swap some of the stuff out, otherwise it's really going to be no use to you at all. Level 1, he's got Charm Person and Magic Missile. Truthfully, Charm Person's not hugely useful to you. I would go for Shield and Magic Missile, otherwise Magic Missile can take out this wizard pretty quickly. He also has level 2 spells, and that is Misty Step and Hold Person. Hold Person's fine for one individual. Misty Step is a good choice. It's really up to you. I personally think that something like Invisibility would be smarter because it allows the wizard to go invisible, and then trying to track down an invisible character is always very, very difficult. Okay, so if you found this video helpful, informative, or educational in some way, awesome, please share and like the video. If you really like this sort of thing, I do this every week, so please consider subscribing to my channel, hitting the bell button to be notified when I go live and when I publish new videos. I have like hundreds of videos. So you supported me by watching this video, but I have hundreds of them, and you're welcome to go and check them out, see if there's something that you will find useful to you. There's bound to be something. I don't do Patreon, although there is a push from a lot of my viewers to do Patreon, but I do have affiliate links down in the description where you can buy stuff online from Amazon and the book depository. I get a small commission. You pay exactly the same price. Just go through the link, buy what you want. You do not have to buy the thing I've linked to. And look, this is your opportunity to ask questions, say hi to me, give me your feedback, give me your personal experience of using Hamun Kost at Old Owl Well. My experience was that literally my group just said, we're going to talk to him, and as soon as the conversation started, they just started attacking. So it just turned into a great, huge, long slog until eventually they wiped out all the zombies and they took out the wizard. And that was the end of Hamun Kost for my table. And unfortunately, I wish it had turned out slightly differently. And if I'd known, I would have done it differently, and I would have swapped out some of those spells that he has because they really weren't very good as far as I'm concerned. But give me your feedback in the live chat because I'll hang around for that. If you're not part of the live chat, that is what the comment section's for. That's where you can give your feedback down there. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s.